Hey, I'm Christy Mitchell, and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing, the show where we talk about what really happens when marketing doesn't go according to plan. Every week, I sit down with business owners and leaders to unpack the missteps, the experiments that didn't land, and the decisions they'd probably rethink if given a do-over. But more importantly, we talk about what they learned on the other side and what you can take with you as you build your own business. Success rarely comes from getting it right the first time. It comes from taking action, making mistakes, adjusting, and showing up again and again. If you've ever wondered whether you're the only one figuring this out as you go, you're in the right place. Today, I am so excited to welcome Allie Raymer to the show. Allie is the founder and lead travel advisor at Peace and Pearl, and she's the 2025 Travel Weekly 40 Under 40 honoree who built a multi-million-dollar travel business from the ground up, lost it overnight during COVID, and rebuilt it from scratch. A former high school education teacher turned entrepreneur, Allie scaled her business to over $2 million in annual sales by leaning into personal branding, storytelling, and a content strategy that attracts the right clients without chasing every trend, which I absolutely love. Today, she leads a high-performing team of advisors and mentors others on how to grow beyond bookings through systems, visibility, and brand clarity. With that, I will welcome Allie to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christy. That's like a fabulous welcome. I was like, oh, thank you.
Isn't it nice to hear
It
someone
is.
else read it for you?
It really is. That was nice.
Awesome. Well, I always like to start by sharing how I met my guests. So we were just chatting about this before we came on air. Podmatch gets another shout out here for connecting Allie and I. And when I read her story of what she wanted to talk about on the show, I was super excited. So you had mentioned you've been through like all sorts of things.
Girl, all the things.
Oh my gosh. It's like there's so many things we could talk about. I know this time's going to fly by. But when we talked about having you on the show, you had talked about one of the biggest marketing missteps you made was early in your business and kind of not realizing the need to grow your personal brand and really relying on a company that you were working underneath. Right. So where would you like to kick off this conversation today?
Yeah, gosh. I mean, that is such an interesting thing. You know, as a travel advisor, I'm an independent contractor. It's kind of like being a realtor. You know, you work for a brokerage per se, and they have their own branding and their own persona and their own website and all of that. And when you're first starting out, you know, in any business, you're just learning the business. You're not thinking about how you're portraying yourself to other people, or at least I wasn't. I was a former teacher. You said I wasn't thinking about marketing. And I was in Cabo on a training trip with my agency. And there was a big fish that was in town that was wanting to go to Cabo. And I thought, this is great. I'm in Cabo right now. I'm like posting about it on my social media. Like, she's totally going to want to use me. Like, I'm a great travel agent, you know? And I remember reaching out to her assistant. I knew her assistant and had a connection. And I was like, hey, like, I would love to help her with her Cabo trip, like, reach out. And, you know, they gave me kind of the courtesy reply, and then they ended up going with another agency. And they ended up posting about this agency and how much they were helpful and all those things. And so, of course, I stalked that agency.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder why they chose them, you know? And it's when you get told no, it's actually a great learning opportunity to learn, why was I not chosen? And I went and stalked that other agency, and I came home from Cabo. Anytime I travel, I just get super creative and inspired. And I, you know, spent a weekend building a website from scratch, just, you know, putting it all together, putting photos from Cabo in there, and just, building something so that I would have some sort of presence for myself personally and not just rely on, you know, what my agency was putting out into the world, which at the end of the day was fine, but it just wasn't me. So
yeah. Well, and I just want to say too, like, I've had this experience with other clients. I haven't actually worked with any travel advisors, but like you said, like, it reminds you of like realtors. The other profession that comes to mind is like financial advisors, right? A lot of times, like, they are responsible for building their book of business, but it's like under the umbrella and the brand of the bigger company that they work for. And so I think there's lots of these types of business owners, right? You're kind of like a business owner in that you have to build that book of business, but you're under the brand. And so I can see a lot of people really falling into this trap.
Yeah. It's very tricky because depending on, the brand visibility of your actual brokerage or, anything like that. That's a good one with the financial advisor too. It's like, okay, you want to match with them and match that vibe or aesthetic or whatever, and maybe you do at some level, but then you also have to bring your personal story into everything that you do.
Yes.
For people to trust you. So
For
I
sure.
think that that's a really hard kind of line to teeter. And I teetered it for a very long time. I did it for 9 years. And I was just telling you before we got on here, 2 weeks ago, I launched my own agency because I think I was pushing up against the limits of that. And I needed to just full on have my own brand and really be myself. But yeah, it's tough in the beginning to teeter that for sure.
So I'm curious, Allie, to know a little bit more about that like inflection point, because it almost sounds like, I think this specific experience happened a bit ago, but it sounds like just recently you made that jump to be like, I'm going out on my own, I'm building my own thing, building my own brand. So how did you kind of arrive at that official decision? If we can jump into it, if it's like still too fresh.
No. It's fresh in a good way. Like, I think it is something to talk about because it happens, when you get into an industry and you learn it and you're, going through the paces and you figured it out. Like, you're like, I know how to do this. Like, I'm good at what I do and I know how to do this. You do then reach a point where you're like, if I'm going to do this on my own, I have to break at some point, and I have to walk away. So it was a slow decision. I will say it had probably been stewing for like a year.
Yeah.
And I just felt so dual-minded is the only way I can put it. I felt like I was, putting a lot of effort into working for my agency, but at the end of the day, I really wasn't working for them. I was building this team and being a leader for them. And that's really what kind of showed me I love this leadership role. I love mentoring these other advisors under me in my team. And I kind of am bumping up. It was like that middle management push, of like bumping up against the owners and then also having to manage my team how I wanted to manage it. And there were these friction points I couldn't move past anymore. And I thought I got to jump ship. And at some point they were going to retire anyways. And I was going to have to make that move. So I just did it a little sooner than probably anticipated, but it was a long decision-making process. I think my husband would have liked it if I would have made that decision sooner because I talked his ear off about it for about a year. So.
Isn't it so great that they listen to us rant forever?
He probably wasn't listening half the time and I don't blame him. So
that's funny. So that's interesting. It wasn't necessarily the marketing aspect that got you to this point. It was more kind of like, it sounds like internal drive of like what you wanted to achieve and the impact you wanted to have and what you wanted to build.
Right. That's so true. And really, I had always felt that boundary of their marketing versus mine because I'm a little more loud. I'm wearing a pink rhinestone headband. Okay. Like I'm just a little bit more bold, I think, than they were. And what they were presenting was very subdued, which works for a lot of people. And I think it's nice for like a larger agency, but I am just so who I am. And it was hard for me to have like this very subdued branding from that perspective. Yes. And I'm like, but that's not me. Like when people meet me, they know that's not me. Like I'm not this simple, whatever brand. I am a little bit more out there and a little bit more creative and bold. And I wanted my brand to reflect that. And let's be honest, like travel is so much fun. And I wanted my brand to tap into that fun element because we sell the most fun thing to sell. Like everybody loves talking about travel. So we're just a fun industry. And so I was like, I want to tap into that more than what my current owners were doing. And it just feels more like me now, which is such a relief. So
yeah. And you know what's interesting, Allie, is I was just talking to somebody recently. She's actually like my closest business friend. And we were talking about like how we brand our businesses, and she didn't even know that like before we became really good friends, like my business has already gone through like 2 rebrands. So like the first iteration, I was phase 2 marketing and I had very much like an agency feel to the work that I was doing. And it was because I was planning and executing people's marketing for them.
Yeah.
And what I realized was like, it wasn't, I mean, to your point, it wasn't fun. Like I wasn't having fun marketing my own business. And I was like, I just want to be me. Like, I don't want to use this like like I'm some, big team that I'm not. And I kind of realized too, I didn't want to grow an agency. So I'm like, I'd rather just have a personal brand. I'd rather just brand myself. And then it made it so much easier and more fun to show up when I got to do it my way. And I wasn't feeling like I was trying to fit into some, really, in my case, it was a self-imposed box. But for those people working for other companies, it's the box that they're given.
Yeah, gosh, that's so good. And it's so freeing to be authentically yourself. And then I think you're rewarded with those clients that then feel that, and they come to you because they're like, oh, this is you. Like, and that's like me. And we have these things in common. And yeah, I think that the authenticity is just going to draw business to you and the right kind of business and the people you want to work with. And it's amazing.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to how we started this conversation, this particular client that you were like super excited about. You thought you were in a great position to win that business because you were on the trip that they were looking to plan. What was it, do you think, about, like, I want to dig into that experience more. And what was it about kind of the lack of your own personal brand that you think really influenced the decision of who they decided to use?
Yeah, I think, I was just a small square photo on a website, honestly. And the social media marketing that I was doing at the time was so like, I didn't have a voice at all. Like I was just like, what do I post today? I don't know. Let's post a travel tip. It was just throwing spaghetti at the wall at that point. Like if I went back and looked at my post, I'm like, oh God, who was I talking to? I was just speaking into the void, and I wasn't really thinking about like who my ideal client is and what they're searching for, what they're looking for, and that they could find it in me. I was just kind of putting random things out there. And again, I didn't have my own website. If someone Googled me, good luck. Like, I don't know where they would have found me,
Yeah.
So I think that when I looked at this other agency, they ended up choosing, aesthetics are a part of it. Okay. It's a part of it. And I think that their aesthetic matched hers. Okay. And she is a very big business. She is a huge business owner. She has a huge social media following. She has like 1 million followers now, I think. I don't know if it was like that at the time, but, and she just happens to be here local. But I thought, she has to keep up an appearance. Like she's got all these people following her. So whoever she's saying, hey, I work with this person, needs to match the aesthetic in a way. And it's not all about aesthetics. It's about the whole brand and marketing, but it needed to match. And I knew, okay, if she tagged me and like, this is my travel advisor, like she'd probably be embarrassed because I don't have that presence, And so when I saw what the other agency was doing, I was like, that honestly makes sense. Like I see, because everything that she does was like very forward facing, and she's got a lot of followers. She's got a lot of people watching, and she needed it to be something that I just wasn't at that time. The cool part of the story is she later came to me like years later, and I planned 2 amazing European trips for their family.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. I'm like, what? It ended up being so cool because that no, I don't think that always happens, but that no turned into 2 yeses down the road. Because I did start being a little bit more authentically myself, and putting the things out there that she thought, oh, wait, you are the kind of person that I want to work with. And it ended up being that way. I got to do 2 amazing trips for their family. So yeah, it doesn't always work that way, but that was cool.
That's an amazing story, because honestly, Ellie, one thing I wanted to point out is like, I hope you really gave yourself credit for the fact that you took that like that sale that you lost and you dug into it rather than like, a lot of time, right? It's when we're business owners, like we can get our egos hurt and we can feel bad and throw ourselves pity parties and, maybe get mad at the other person who didn't choose to work with us. But you really took it upon yourself to be like, okay, I want to understand why she made this decision and let me dig into it and understand more about who she chose so that I can reflect on myself and figure out what do I need to do differently. Because it sounds like you knew you would be the perfect person to help her plan that Cabo trip, and you didn't get the chance. And so that kind of like gave you the motivation you needed
Oh,
to
yeah.
propel yourself forward.
Absolutely. Like what this is making me think of is people always talk about like eldest daughter energy, but what you're describing is youngest daughter energy. Like I'm the youngest daughter. And
Me
it's very,
too.
yeah, but like I think that's what it is. I think youngest daughters actually make really good entrepreneurs because we are told no and we're just like, whatever, we're just going to keep rolling. Like we're going to fight and we're just going to prove people wrong. Cause I feel like that's the kind of energy we bring. And that's just always who I've been. That's why I knew when I got into sales and marketing myself, like I knew this was a good fit for me because I just have that
Hmm.
personality of, okay, you said no, now I'm just going to be better. So I think
Yeah.
you have to have that. Like otherwise you'll just,
Yes.
yeah, throw yourself a pity party every day.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. So in reflecting on this experience that you had, I actually see like kind of a two-pronged kind of challenge that you were running into as to why you didn't get that business. One was, like you said, if someone looked you up, you were just a square on somebody else's website.
Yep.
So like huge problem with that, right? You don't have a personal brand in that way when you're under another umbrella and you have restrictions on how you can show up.
Right.
And then the other thing you said too was the content you were posting, there was no strategy, which like Allie, I am the strategy queen when it comes to marketing. And when I saw what you shared with like, yeah, I have a plan and I know who I'm speaking to and all those things. I'm like, yes, let's dig into this conversation because I get, as you can tell, really jazzed when people care about strategy in their marketing.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's everything. And I think so many people, again, when you start out in a business, honestly, you don't know. Like, you don't even know what your niche is. You don't know who your audience is because you haven't sold enough to know who your people are.
Yes.
So I do think it takes time. I think you do kind of have to
Mhm.
throw spaghetti at the wall for the first little bit. And then once you start working with people, in a service business, you start working with people and you're like, all right, I want more of these. How do I get
Yes.
more of these people? Because these are my
Mhm.
people. And how do I get less of this person?
Absolutely.
And that changed so much for me. And I think it just unlocks. And then once it unlocks, it's weird. Like you start to see content opportunities literally everywhere. And I think
Yes.
you do have to like have some mentors and like the content strategy. Like I have a girl, she's actually like so young. She's like 23. She's one of my dear friends. And she's just has a content brain. And I will sometimes just sit down and be like, okay, unlock this for me. Like how do I need to
Yeah.
think about this? And you got to have those people because otherwise it's tough. Yeah, to keep coming up with creative ways to present
Yes.
yourself. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I especially loved your point. I'm just putting the finishing touches on a blog today. So it's funny timing of our conversation, but it's about like how not to use AI for your marketing and how instead to use it. And one of the key pieces is really knowing who it is that you want to speak to
right.
and you being the thought leader and the expert rather than outsourcing that to AI.
Yep.
Which that's a whole separate conversation
Whole
that we
other
won't
thing.
get into today.
Yeah.
But I loved your point that like you didn't even know who you were talking to. And I totally agree. I talk to a lot of like early stage entrepreneurs just to like chat and share like my experiences. They're not really my ideal client because my clients know who their audience is and
Right.
they know what their offers are and they can
Right.
sell them. But I always like to just, share about my journey if it can help other people. And you're so right. It's very hard to get that level of specificity when you're new because you have to work with a bunch of people to figure out who do you like, who do you not like, and then how do you tailor your messaging over time.
Yep.
I'm curious if you could share a little bit more about that specifically for you, like just to give listeners kind of an example to follow of like, okay, what did you lean into? How did that clarity around who you want to work with impact your marketing?
Yeah, I love that. So I've always been like, for me, something like Instagram was always very natural with like social media marketing. Because I do travel, like I practice what I preach, like I have content. So that always felt super natural. And I don't think that that's ever like the case. Like I have advisors on my team that are like, I suck at Instagram. And I'm like, it's not hard. But, some things just come naturally. But I think that, so it's kind of hard for me to speak to that because I think it's like too just I hate to say this, but like it's just easy and it just comes naturally. But a couple avenues that I feel like were more challenging for me where I really had to push this was something like LinkedIn. So like when I very first started on LinkedIn, Oh, it was bad. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, who am I talking to? Like, who am I talking to? And I had to get in with a guy. He was like a business coach and website developer. And I called it business therapy. I was like, hi, I'm coming to business therapy. And he would help me figure out, like, okay, here's your ideal avatars on LinkedIn. Like, think about who's logging into LinkedIn on a daily basis. It's different than who's logging in on Instagram. And even if it's the same person, it's a different persona because they're at work.
Yeah.
So it's a different persona. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, okay, why are they on LinkedIn at work? Like, they are probably thinking about vacation. They're bored and want to, search something else. Or thinking about like assistants and CEOs who want to do incentive trips, because that's a part of my market, is doing incentive trips for companies like pharmaceutical sales and insurance. I work with those. And I'm like, how do I reach more of those people? Because that's a great gig. Let me tell you, great gig.
Yes.
So it's like, how do I reach those assistants? Because really it's the assistants that are, making those decisions. I know. And then in a sense, the CEOs and people like that, the decision makers. And then what am I telling them that they will trust me? So LinkedIn was totally different for me. It was such like I had to sit back, come up with little avatars, literally write down, people's names, come up with, okay, who are they? What are they looking for? What problem am I solving for them? How am I making their life easier? And just like dumping all that information. And then from there, kind of developing a voice of like, okay, this is how I'm going to reach these people. And I even like have a whole segment of my website to reach those people. So when they land on my site, it feels like, oh, she doesn't just do fun in the sun, beach vacations, or custom Europe, but she does incentive groups. Like, that's great for our company. So that was what challenged me so much. And I've kind of even grown since then. I've made way more industry connections and kind of tried to level up that part of it, and think about that audience on there too. But yeah, it's like, who is that audience and what the heck do they need from me that they'll pause and listen,
Right. Well, and I love the point that you make, Allie, that, you have advised Instagram comes easily for you, but it doesn't for everybody on your team. And LinkedIn was the thing that was a challenge for you, right? Whereas like, I love LinkedIn. That's the place I show up for. Right. Like, I think it's really important for people to realize that not every platform or every marketing tactic is going to feel easy.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Right. I'm always a big fan of like, let's try some things out. Like, it might be uncomfortable, but like, let's just try it and see if we can make it work. And it sounds like you had a really positive experience with learning something new with LinkedIn and really tweaking and refining who it is that you're trying to connect with and what does that offer look like and how do you solve problems for them. So I really love that example. I think it's super helpful for those listening to kind of pick up pieces of like where they could maybe push themselves a little bit or get outside their comfort zone and try something new.
I agree. And I think it's a matter of like, when you're spinning the plates of marketing, it's like, don't try to do them all. You're going to fail. And so it's like, get one going that feels easier, So for me, it's like, okay, Instagram. Okay, this is good. This is good. And then it's like, all right, LinkedIn, let's try this out, And then it's like, okay, I have a lot of boomer clients. I love them. They're so sweet. They find me on Facebook, a lot of referrals, things like that. But my boomer clients love YouTube. And like a year and a half ago, one of my boomer clients was like, "Oh, you should really just get on YouTube and start talking about these travel things." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll do it because you told me to." And I did. I started playing with that. And that's, again, another audience to think about. I swear boomers love looking up stuff about travel on YouTube. It's wild. And I've gotten plenty of clients doing that. And it's like, you just put yourself out there in a different way. And I didn't sit down one day and go, I'm going to do all the marketing platforms.
Yes.
I did one and then the next and then the next. And now my next thing is newsletters. Like, I'm like, I know I need to get on the newsletter bandwagon. And we'll see. But you just do one thing at a time.
Allie, it's so awesome to meet somebody who approaches their marketing in pretty much the exact way that I teach it, but that didn't work with me. Like, it's so cool. I'm like, Yes, we think exactly the same, because that is always what I tell people. Don't try and do all the things. You're going to burn yourself out and overwhelm yourself, and then you're not going to show up consistently. So you're not going to get the results, and it just becomes this like negative cycle. So like you said, pick one thing that feels good, show up consistently, do it, get the results. And then once that, like, I like the plate spinning analogy. Once that plate is spinning, then maybe get on another platform or add something else to your marketing plan. That is, I think, the best way to do it. So I absolutely love that you shared that.
Yay.
Our time is flying by. And as we get ready to kind of wrap up this conversation, you've shared so many great little nuggets of wisdom from your experiences. Is there any last kind of piece of advice that you want to leave?
I think for me, listening, going back to the intro and just thinking about that, what I'm calling youngest daughter energy, I think you just really need to be resilient. Like, the resiliency that I've had to go through, I mean, in this business of, we didn't even talk about COVID, but I mean, I lost everything. And that was nothing that I did marketing wise. There was no saving that. It was what it was. And rebuilt everything again with my business. But it's like, I think that just, it's okay. Like, you're going to fail and you're going to do things wrong, and things may even burn to the ground of no fault of your own. And that's okay. Like, you will survive it, because I think that's going to make you so much better. Like, even going through this whole rebrand and relaunch with my new agency, it happened a little differently than I anticipated. But I know, I'm like, but this makes me better. Like, this is making me more resilient. And I know I'm going to look back on this time next year and be like, dang, that was hard, but so worth it. Like, so worth it. So I think the resiliency piece is literally everything with marketing. Like, you just have to keep forging forward and just know it's going to be worth it.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. Such great advice. Love it, Allie. Very lastly, as we get ready to sign off from this conversation, how can people learn more about you and your brand new agency and the work that you do?
No. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So we did just launch like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, maybe even less than that. So you can find me on peaceandpearltravel.com, and I'll be adding all my agents, my sub agents on there soon. So it's just me right now, but I have a whole team, and they'll be on there in the coming month. And then if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Allie Peace and Pearl Travel. I kind of just give a little bit of everything there, kind of the mom side of things, but definitely business. And then LinkedIn too. You can find me on there, Allie Raymer. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Allie, for your willingness to come on the show and share your experience. I know that listeners will take a lot away from this conversation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Christy.
All right, everyone. Until next time.